All right, let's look at some decent examples, at least, of messaging to some extent.
They're starting to get it together.
Some. And the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is a sort of a perfect entity in which to make this clear. Like USAID was chosen, I think, because Americans reflexively know nothing about their government and they don't care about foreign aid. And there are, valid complaints from the left on some of these sort of like more submerged, nefarious things that are imperialistic that USAID does. And of course, because at one point they help people out, there's also, conservatives are happy to attack that agency because they're people who are not, they're from other countries and not all white ones. But the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is literally is bulletproof in terms of selling it to the American public. For every dollar spent at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which comes out of the the Fed and isn't even tax dollars, for every dollar spent, 20 comes back to American citizens who are consumers of various financial products, credit cards, banks, maybe they deal with debt, et cetera, et cetera.
And this is the scam period right now. The Trump administration with all its crypto guys, they want to do more of that. So the CFPB gets in the way and they never say the full acronym. They'll never spell it out. They say CFPB because they don't want to let people know that they're gutting the thing that protects consumers. To your point on the math, an $800 million cost, and it's returned $21 billion.
It's more than 1 to 20
to the consumers.
And it's
but I mean that's over time. But yeah,
like Zuckerberg is also somebody who's has an eye on banking sort of things. Not to mention all of these sort of scams that are hosted on Facebook that I think the CFPB would also want to look at.
The two things that the Trump administration signaled they were going to overturn, I think it was yesterday or the day before, was one, the idea of medical debt showing up on your credit report. Under the Biden administration, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau basically said you can't put medical debt on your credit report. So if you get hit by a bus and you owe all this money all of a sudden, it shouldn't reflect your credit risk going forward. The second one was overdraft fees for banks. And what banks were doing is they were structuring your overdrafts in such a way to collect more fees. How do they do that? Let's say you have $400 in your bank and your electric bill costs $150. So you pay that $150. Now you've got $250 in your bank account, but you get into a fender bender. You got to pay for your car. It's $390 or $400. Let's say. They would not be able to strike you for an overdraft if they took that first charge first. Mm-hmm. But what they do is they delay these charges onto your account. And they can sometimes spread this over a couple of days. They will invert those charges. So the $400 charge, they'll go first and they'll go, you overdraft. Let's say you had $399 in your account. You overdraft and then you did the cable bill or the electric bill and then you overdraft again. Whereas you meant to pay the electric bill first, $150. Okay, I get $250 there. Now I pay the $400 for my car and I overdraft. You would have had one overdraft, but they structure it so you actually have two. The same transactions, they just invert those transactions so that you pay extra fees. They're literally rolling that back. How can you say, and I dispute the fact that anybody said this in the first place, but in what planet is this something you could sell to any voters at anywhere? Anywhere. Here is Chris Van Hollen at the rally out in front of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau yesterday. Hundreds of people there, which is sort of impressive to come out to protest the essentially shutting down of an agency. Here's Van Hollen.
We have another senator coming up, and remind me, what are we asking our elected officials right now? Something about withholding something. Withhold your vote. Senator Chris Van Hollen, my senator from Maryland. I got to ask you, are you willing to withhold your vote until this constitutional crisis is over?
I am, and no more business as usual in the United States Senate. Let's give it up for Elizabeth.
Stop billionaire grift in the background. Stop Elon's takeover. Let's make it about the billionaires. Let's make it about the not good billionaires. Let's not make a distinction. Make it about the billionaires. It's good. Finally.
This guy wasn't my favorite choice, Ammo, in this Rhode Island congressional race. I can't remember who he was running against, but Ammo was certainly not my favorite.
It was Aaron Regenberg, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Who was like more of the progressive choice.
But this was good rhetoric at least.
At the very least, I'll take it where we can get it today. Here is Gabe Ammo of Rhode Island at that same rally.
And let's hear it again for the great people of the CFPB. See, the thing is, Trump and Musk and their billionaire buddies know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. But there are millions of Americans who are just tuning in. So we have to let them know what we're standing up for. So I have a few questions for you. What's wrong with protecting consumers? Nothing. What's wrong with eliminating junk fees? Nothing. What is wrong with avoiding foreclosures? Nothing. What is wrong with making sure that banks don't take every single penny out of your account when you ain't got nothing in it? Not a damn thing is wrong with the work of the CFPB. In fact, it represents all that is right, protecting Americans. And so I say to Elon, take your hands off. Take your hands off the CFPB because the American people are watching. And we're not just watching. We are getting loud. We are on the streets. We are going to be everywhere, making it heard that we are not going to stand for an America run by billionaires.
I wish they would take a note from Emma and call it the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
He did say protecting consumers, but they should spell it out every time.
Keep saying a CFPB.
As if everyone is a lawyer from D.C. who
I
knows
know.
Well,
what
but
those
here's the
terms
thing,
mean.
is that the right uses acronyms to obfuscate and to hide what things mean.
DEI.
Right? DEI. As opposed to,
CRT, right, Matt? Yeah.
And CRT.
Yeah.
But when you are happy to say the mission, Environmental Protection Agency explains exactly what it does.
Yeah.
The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. That sounds pretty good, actually.
But I thought the quibble you were going to make is that my other fear now is that they're doing the same thing with the cleaving of Elon from the Republican Party. As I watched that, I was like, oh, this rhetoric's pretty good. But here I have my pessimism bubbling up. Because I think that they're led by poll testing, and Elon's poll numbers are dropping.
Yes.
And Trump's poll numbers are still kind of good because it's a honeymoon period, sure, but they can't just make one boogeyman because it polls in that way.
And Trump benefits because when he finally axes him in 8 months.
Yeah. And where's Hakeem Jeffries? Hakeem Jeffries should be on the front. I mean, Chuck Schumer, actually, I'm fine with him just shutting up. But Hakeem Jeffries, he's supposed to be at least winning the trust of the caucus.
But what leverage does he have?
Right.
He has no leverage.
I know. Oh.
He should resign.
He should. He should. He's got to go. He is not meeting this moment. And even standard Democrats are out there. Van Hollen is not in DSA, but they're at the very least showing up to defend the American people. And Hakeem Jeffries is at the podium making excuses. Supposed to be the leader of the party.
Well, Hakeem Jeffries was on with Jon Stewart, right? Let's watch this. I mean, he is really
You see why they
The
wanted him to
soaring
lead the
rhetoric
party for
is
so long.
just impressive here. Here he is with Jon Stewart. Is that actual room? Why does it look like he's in front, like
In a lighthouse?
like a weird?
I think this is his. This is where he films his podcast from, so I recognize it. But
Make a little bit of mood lighting. Go ahead.
Are the Democrats not thinking big enough to change the relationship between, this whole idea of having to fight?
Pause it for a second.
To lower it.
Just like, okay, it's been teed up. Are you not thinking big enough? Like, fight. Big. Like, tell me what the big vision is.
The relationship between, this whole idea of having to fight to lower insulin costs, as though that's like, we got 10 drugs that we can now negotiate with. Like, don't they have to be clearer, stronger, and change that relationship to get government to deliver these services directly and effectively?
go, John.
Well, I think the Affordable Care Act, it's been an interesting journey, and
I like that phrase.
No, a very important one.
Yes.
In terms of what has happened transformationally, you're talking about more than 100 million Americans with pre-existing.
You paused. I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself. He is talking like a contestant on The Bachelor, talking about their journey, getting to know this person over the past 3 months. The lack of, it's like he's talking about a friendship or some casual relationship. What do you mean the journey with the Affordable Care Act? Yes, the Republicans tried to dismantle it, which is why we have to keep improving it and proposing a Medicare for All system or whatever. I don't care about the journey and the litigation about the Affordable Care Act.
There is a way to even, putting aside the sort of the deficiencies in the Affordable Care Act, you don't say journey.
Yeah.
Because you say fight. Because the fight was, Republicans wanted Americans to have no health insurance. They didn't want the insurance to be quality health insurance. They didn't want Medicaid to be expanded. There was a fight. It wasn't like we were in a boat and we were sort of like floating down the river on a journey.
This sort of like non-specific, really kind of like not even political speak is how you like do good in interviews for corporate jobs.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre.
I'm meeting at the intersection
Go ahead.
of synergy.
You're talking about more than 100 million Americans with pre-existing healthcare conditions who now have coverage because of the Affordable Care Act, who otherwise would be left to the public market, the insurance market, and healthcare insurers, many of whom would have no...
It's not the public market. It's the private market. Yes. It's the private market. Not a problem. Again, this has been my point about the ACA. The full name of it was the PPI, the Patient Protection Initiative, I think it was, and Affordable Care Act. The patient protection part worked. That was the 100 million with pre-existing conditions. That was no rescission, no annual or lifetime caps. But it was a fight.
Public market, the insurance market, and healthcare insurers, many of whom would have no intention of allowing them affordable access to the healthcare that they need to live. That's more than 100 million Americans. Young people who have transitioned out of college or hit age 21, but were in the workforce since high school. At that point, they would generally have lost their insurance coverage. They could not continue to be on their parents' plan. Now that was extended to the age of 26. That's been transformational.
He asked,
So,
made
the point pause real quick, is that we did enough with Obamacare. Why are you looking at us? That's this entire party establishment, and they exist just to say we do enough. Huh? Why don't you reward us for doing enough?
I don't know if I've ever seen someone speak who blinks as much as he does, but it appears as if he's not blinking. It's strange. It's almost like there's no there behind the eyes. I get what he's saying. It was a journey. Through that journey, we achieved some things. What was your question? What should we do? Let's just talk about what we've done. Are you aware of Social Security?
Oh, yeah, it's past-facing again, which was the whole Biden campaign, which we were like, okay, this is a big problem. Even when Harris took over, stop looking towards the past and offer something for the future. And it's like, how since Trump got elected in November, they haven't come up with a plan.
Because they're too busy killing all the plans. The Green Dream or whatever.
Yeah.
I find it pretty amazing also that in some of the reporting on the messaging that Biden's comms team nixed the "we're not going back" messaging as being too looking into the past, when that actually to me seems more rejecting the past, while everything other than that substantively was only focused on the past.
Yes.
Like we're not going back actually seemed like, okay, we are leaving the past in the past, and every other thing was like
The full.
we don't have to check any, we don't have to change anything.
I mean, the ACA, like the Democrats lost with young men, right? With what, Gen Z? They don't remember the negotiations about the Affordable Care Act. All they can think about is like, oh my gosh, when I'm 26, I'm going to be off my parents' insurance if they even have insurance to keep me on. Like, what are you going to do for me now?
Go ahead.
To the age of 26. That's been transformational. We've made the point through the Affordable Care Act that being a woman is not a pre-existing condition.
Thank God.
It is not a reason to deny health care coverage. And before the Affordable Care Act, it had been. But I think the biggest success in some ways of the Affordable Care Act, which Republicans for 8 years obsessed about taking down until finally politically the American people said enough. And we took the House back in 2018, and they've pretended not to want to touch the Affordable Care Act ever since. But if they got a chance, they would. Is that when that battle was being waged, and I wasn't in Congress at the time,
Right.
it was still unclear, John, in America, whether healthcare was a right or a privilege. That was an open question.
Unclear in your party.
It's no longer an open question. We at least understand that access to high quality, affordable healthcare is a right.
If it's a human right, I'm sorry. If it's a human right, we are falling We are falling so damn short.
Healthcare is not a right. Access
to healthcare. Okay, well, so the 26 million people who are uninsured as of, in the 2023 data, were they just like not grabbing onto that access? Did they choose not to access? They said, thank you so much, but I'm going to reject the healthcare. Or was it because they can't afford it?
This is all just an ass covering operation. And I remember Barack Obama was on a basketball podcast, The Young Man and the Three, talking with Tyrese Halliburton in the run-up to the election. And the question was, like in the example, like, what do we need to do to get people to know the stakes? And Obama's spiel was, well, sometimes you can't see all the things we're doing, but just know that an old lady down the street might be getting, $60 off of her medicine every month. And I'm sorry, that's great for that old lady. That is not enough to win in politics, especially after what happened to the economy under Barack Obama, and the recovery. Wake up.
And I'm sympathetic to messaging during election season, but we're 2 years away from the midterms.
Always election season.
Be in opposition.
Yeah.
Be in opposition. I understand that that's what happens, especially in the presidential campaign. You're making decisions and sometimes they don't work out, like the Liz Cheney of it all. But by God, when all that's required of you right now is to be in opposition, be in opposition.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.